I'm Curtin Davino, reading for reviewer Suriel Vazquez. The Paper Mario series thrives on a clever irreverence that can be hard to maintain. Its outlandish scenarios match the absurdist, dreamlike world of the Mushroom Kingdom and the mundanity of the real world. It takes jabs at the very concepts that inspire it, nodding knowingly at the audience and whispering, "This whole thing's kind of weird, right?" It's a fun take on the usually earnest Mario games, but that kind of slyness turns grating when the systems that are supposed to prop it up don't work, which is where the last couple of Paper Mario games have struggled. But in surprising course correction, Paper Mario, the Origami King's most clever trick is how its overhauled combat complements its sharp wit, turning the series' Achilles heel into one of its biggest strengths. Paper Mario, the Origami King's conceptual gimmick is how its titular Origami King, Ali, transforms the flat cutouts of the Paper Mario universe, folding them into subservient 3D origami figures. He kidnaps Princess Peach along with her entire castle, wrapping both up in a wall of colorful streamers. So now Mario, along with Ali's repentant sister Olivia, need to flatten everything out again. The origami premise adds a nice visual flair to the already gorgeous papercraft look of the series, and you get to see yet another take on Goombas, Shy Guys, and Koopas, even if this time they're imbued with a slightly creepy energy. Like other Paper Mario games, the Origami King is less about plot and more about throwing a joke at you at every turn. Whether it's a smart turn of phrase, one-off bits that reward you for exploring its environments with a gag or item, or extended set pieces that deliver killer moments. Not every joke or bit lands, but they hit far more than they falter. The Origami King is consistently sharp, using both Mario characters and its interactivity to tell some great jokes. That's been true of the Paper Mario series for a while now, but the Origami King also manages to find new life in its combat, something the series hasn't done in a while. Moving away from the limiting and resource-dependent combat of the last couple of entries, the Origami King instead has you rearranging enemies on a circular, tile-based grid around Mario. Your goal is to rotate or slide the tiles on the grid to arrange enemies in lines or squares, making them easy to plow through with your jumps or hammer. Every encounter is essentially a timed puzzle with one or more correct solutions, and you're encouraged to solve them quickly, usually in a single turn. Every fight requires just the right amount of involvement. Not so simple that you're mashing your way through them, but not so intricate that a few fights wear you out. Even early on, when fights require just two clearly telegraphed steps to solve, the extra effort it takes to arrange enemies, then time your attacks properly, made me want to wade into fights rather than avoid them. As the difficulty ramps up, it's easy to become a little too obsessed with the solving every battle. The in-game timer adds a pressure to think quickly, which occasionally clashed with my perfectionist tendencies. As the difficulty ramped up, I started asking Olivia for hints, which pauses the timer, or taking screenshots. If you're not bent on solving every encounter this way, I don't blame you. Thankfully, you can pay the crowd of toads watching your fights to make the first move for you, and later get the option to have encounters solved for you entirely. It's a great way to tweak the difficulty to your mood, even if I did end up circumventing the timer in a way that felt like cheating. The effort I put into some random encounters was better spent on boss fights against developmental beasts and arts and crafts tools like colored pencils, a hole puncher, or a roll of tape, which invert the flow of combat to create intricate fights that cap off each act with a showstopper. To fight them, Mario moves to the outer edges of the board and must move tiles with arrows, switches, healing items, and attack prompts on them to deal damage. These fights are more involved than regular battles and play out like puzzles, but there's just enough strategy here to avoid the feeling you're following prompts. I regularly had to choose whether I ate up precious time to see out if I could run Mario through a healing heart, a switch to turn on a magic circle, and said circle itself in one churn, or if I should just be quick, take the risk, and not heal. Outside battles, the Origami King keeps its RPG aspects light. Your main resource is gold, and while battles are your main source of income, you also get lots of it from covering up tears in the world with confetti, fighting hidden quests and question mark blocks, and completing some light side quests to get health upgrades and money to buy weapons, which wear out over time. The exploration and RPG aspects are still somewhat shallow, but the overall sense of discovery and progression is still rewarding enough that I felt stronger over the course of my playthrough. And I was motivated enough to find more gold and collectibles to comb every area. You also pick up a few party members along the way, but they're mostly an afterthought. There are a handful of great and surprising heartfelt moments with them, but most don't stick around long enough for you to form a bond with them. This puts a large emphasis on your journey with Olivia across all of the Origami King's worlds, and with Mario being his usual mute self, it feels lonelier than it should. It's a concession I'm willing to take, though, since just about every other part of Paper Mario the Origami King works so well. With a newfound combat system that steals the show and offers a novel take on turn-based combat, its winking, nodding, and adventuring shine all the brighter. Its world and characters might not be the series' best, but it's still able to consistently throw left turns, good gags, and smart surprises at you. Each piece of the Origami King elegantly fits into its whole, taking its irreverent flair to new heights. The Paper Mario series has recently shown that being clever and being smart are two different things, but thankfully it's once again managed to be both.